Hello, I'm Michael O'Brien. I'm of counsel at McCown Bailey, and a significant part of my legal practice focuses on obtaining insurance coverage in unique situations. This discussion is going to focus on theft of your artificial intelligence applications that are reduced to software. There's a few kinds of typical varieties of artificial intelligence theft that I have observed in my practice in the past few years. The first kind has been around since time immemorial, and it has to do with somebody breaking into your physical office and stealing a computer or a hard drive or a server that contains your AI project. A variety of burglary. The second involves somebody who is supposed to maintain your artificial intelligence infrastructure in the cloud and then locks you out, holding your artificial intelligence infrastructure for ransom until you pay an amount in excess of what a contract requires. The third has to do with somebody building an AI infrastructure for you. And for reasons that we'll discuss in the next slide, this is the most common that we observe in our practice today. Somebody works on the project, then stops working on the project, locks you out of your AI infrastructure, and then demands more money. These kinds of contract renegotiations have been documented in American law since at least the 1800s. They're so common that I have developed 2 whole pages in my textbook, Strategic Approaches to the Legal Environment of Business, on this exact issue. Today, however, we're not focused on all the legal remedies that are available for someone in this situation, like you were encountering it on a bar exam, because frequently you're not going to be able to reach out to this person, maybe located overseas. All of these, especially the last one, are very common. We see them regularly, weekly, monthly, sometimes even more frequently in our practice. And we're constantly trying to find new ways to help people in these situations. One of the first things clients want to do, one of the first things the owner of the AI infrastructure wants to do is to send law enforcement after the perpetrator. And this is a good thing for reasons we're going to discuss later. With regard to the burglar, you're going to need to report the burglary right away. Now, not all jurisdictions prosecute burglary. In Washington, D.C., for instance, burglary has not been prosecuted for over a decade because there's no arrest for burglary, there's no investigations for burglary, and the absence of some sort of other person crime that occurs. Nonetheless, when burglary happens, get a police report. I've seen people have to coax law enforcement for weeks or sometimes even months to get them to fill out a report for these situations. The next kind is the cloud thief. And here, there are state laws that apply, but you also are going to need to make a federal report to the FBI. This is mostly so the FBI can keep track of how much cybercrime is occurring and where it needs to be putting cybercrime resources in order to fight these crimes effectively. Now, the FBI is not going to investigate your crime. I don't know that they investigate very many cybercrimes at all, but you're going to need to go online, fill out the form, make a copy. You can print screen, or you can take a screenshot, you can print the web browser before you hit submit because you won't be able to access the report after you do so. And that's going to serve as your police report for your insurance reporting. We'll get to the next slide. And the last one is the renegotiation. And these are not even thought of as crimes, really. This is just a civil matter. 2 parties are renegotiating whether or not the contract was fairly priced as originally presented. There are several different kinds of insurance that have overlapping coverage over these particular kinds of incidents. The first is commercial general liability. It's the oldest, it's the most common, I don't think the commercial general liability form insurance has meaningfully changed since the 1990s, or maybe even earlier than that. And it has to do with when somebody steals something from your facility, and it could be your equipment, like your AI infrastructure, it could be your inventory, it could be anything. CGL is going to pay for the loss that occurs in that situation. The next kind is business interruption insurance, and we very commonly see CGL and business interruption lumped together in a modern business insurance policy. And that's going to replace business income that's lost as a result of some sort of disaster, and theft commonly meets that requirement. Theft of others, not necessarily theft of one of your own employees, where CGL would ordinarily pay for it because it would be an on-premises issue. Here, because it's in the cloud, it's off-premises, and business interruption is going to apply, and we'll go through how that's calculated in a little bit. The last one, the best one, the most important one is electronic data processing. It's called a few different things, again, commonly looped together with BI and CGL, and it's going to cover any kind of data that you own. This includes your AI infrastructure. It includes all the data that you own, all of the contact lists that you have, all of the credit card information, which you hopefully aren't retaining on site, all of your storage devices, all of your computers. If you're attacked by ransomware, this covers that situation. It is a very modern kind of insurance that we see applying to most of these situations. There are two theories of recovery for insurance. CGL and EDP are going to replace a loss that the insured suffered. This is like a restitution. How much is it going to cost to replace your computer system? How much is it going to cost to replace your data? Very simple to determine what this is. Get a quote. Get a quote from your supplier. How much is it going to cost for one of these, one of those, and then to make this software? You can go on Fiverr and get a quote, and that would suffice for free. But more likely, you're probably going to ask whoever made the AI infrastructure for you in the first place, unless they're the thief, in which case you have to go to a competitor to get that amount. Business interruption insurance is an elaborate calculation, and it involves taking a look at what your net sales percentage is, and then determining the net sales percentage times the mean net sales that you've had in recent years. Now, I recognize that many businesses shut down and didn't provide any business during 2020 or perhaps even 2021 as a result of the novel coronavirus. That's fine. Just take whatever tax returns for whatever business that you've been doing. Now, this assumes that you're in business. In order for business income insurance to apply, you must be in business and generating revenue. Now, revenue is however it's defined on your tax return, because it's ultimately going to be the tax returns and financial statements that go into this. Oftentimes, we observe that in early stage ventures, there's a lot of bartering that goes on. That's fine. That's income. Just report the fair market value of the goods and services that you receive as a result of your bartering. If you're able to do that for the past couple of years, then you're going to be able to obtain the business income variety of recovery. So let's return to the initial hypotheticals and see which one of these kinds of insurance is going to be best and most effective in your situation. First, with regard to the burglar, CGL is very commonly going to apply. Remember to make sure to follow the instructions in your CGL policy. You're going to need to have an alarm system. You're going to need to have a camera system. You're going to need to retain your camera coverage of the event. I remember one case where the insurer dragged its feet for months and months and months and months and months until the point where the footage was destroyed under the document policy that the insured had before making a coverage decision. So hold on to that. I mean, there's other ways that you can prove that break-in occurred through the police report, photographs of the breaking of the building, and so on and so forth. Business interruption can occur if the burglary results in a reduction in income for your business, and EDP, of course, is going to apply for whatever the value is of the data that was taken. What is it that's going to take to replace that data? The cloud thief. EDP and BI are normally going to apply. You're obviously not going to be able to use your AI software when the thief locks it out. In my law firm, we have a contact form. And so if somebody locked us out of that, we wouldn't get emails saying who was contacting us to try to purchase legal services. So that would be a variety of business interruption. We just need to quantify how much the business is being interrupted by this. And finally, the renegotiation. EDP is where you're going to be. And that's the moral of the story that we're going to have here, is that EDP is going to be the biggest, best, most common and easiest to obtain coverage that you can. You want the highest policy limit on this as you possibly can get. Work with your insurance broker, get a very high EDP limit. They're commonly about $10,000. If your AI infrastructure is worth $100,000, pay a little bit more to get that brought up, or get several policies from several insurers to bring that number up closer to the value, less self-insurance, that you're willing to take for the value of your AI invention or AI infrastructure. Ask yourself this: what is it that it would take to replace my AI infrastructure if somebody stole it in a ransomware attack, in any other kinds of attacks that we're talking about here, including routine burglary? The other good thing about this is that very small amount of documentation is required for EDP, whereas BI insurance requires a significant amount of documentation, financial statements for your business, and that can be extremely difficult to obtain. EDP doesn't require anything like that, it just requires a quote as to how to get this redone. And finally, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be prepared to use BI, even though BI requires additional information. Keep your tax returns, be able to quantify how the lack of AI infrastructure has affected your business, and you'll be able to make a claim under this part of your policy as well. I wish you all well. I realize that we've covered a lot in the last 14 minutes. If you have any other questions, I would love to speak with you about these topics. My information is widely available on the internet, and Eric has it in the program as well. Thank you so much.